Go. All right, here we go.
Yes, college football in the offense.
Look,
it's right there. We're going to do the
right.
TV games now. Stay up with us.
All right. Penn State at Maryland. Okay, FS1, 7 p.m. Friday night. It's Maryland plus 6.5.
Okay. Well, I'd have to go Penn State. I think Penn State's going to click. And remember, this is the fifth week of the season. So a lot of teams are going to start really formulating and getting into position to win their games so they can look good for the conference playoffs.
Here we go. Penn State opens up Big Ten play on a Friday night for the second straight year. Okay. Now,
on the road.
Last time they played at Maryland, Penn State led 31-0 at halftime, but they had Trace McSorley.
Yeah.
So McSorley started, and backup QB Thomas Stevens ran for 114 yards, 3 TDs. Penn State's offense has looked anemic thus far. And here we go. You are Penn State at Maryland. You're at Maryland. Maryland's getting plus 6.5. I'll take Maryland.
I will too. I think Penn State gets it done, but I just don't think they win.
I don't even think Penn State gets it done.
Okay, that's head-to-head, me and you. I got Mare.
All right. Oh, hey, I went 9-5 last week, by the way, if you're keeping a tally.
I went 5-9 because I won every game against him.
Well, let that be a lesson to you kids out there.
How about those Sun Devils versus those Bears?
Okay, Zona State at Cal. Now, I've seen Zona State play. I've seen Cal play. Cal used to run Arizona State. They owned the series all the way from about 2002 to 2011. Well, that's ancient history now. So, but the past 3 meetings, Arizona State came out on top, okay? So, they ain't played each other since 2016. So, you really have nothing to gauge it on. It's Arizona State at Cal, though.
Plus.
And I'd have to say, Cal has came through for me for about 3 weeks straight at this point. So you know what? I can't pick against Cal. It's 9:30 ESPN, late night football on a Friday night. So when you're at the bar and you've had a couple of drinks, look up on the TV and you're going to see Cal beating Arizona State by more than 4.5, so I'm taking Cal.
Well, I got an upset special. I think Arizona State gets it done. Herm Edwards is to me, he's turning out a pretty good coach out that way.
Yes, he is.
Announcer with his colorful socks or whatever like that. He was there. He was a great pro football player, and we play to win the games.
Hello.
Yeah. Hey, look, OK State, Mike Gundy got called out, or they had the press conference, and they said that T. Boone Pickens had died, and he left some money to get that mullet cut. Man, he lit into the press conference. He said, "That's what's wrong with people like you today. That's what's wrong with this stuff." Anyway,
all right, here we go. Arkansas versus Texas A&M.
Oh man,
the most disappointing team. Arkansas versus Texas A&M. ESPN, 11:00 Saturday morning.
First thing
in the morning. The most disappointing team so far in college football, hands down, is Michigan. But coming in at number 2 is the Texas A&M Aggies.
Yeah.
Okay. The 12th man is not going to be there because you're playing the game in Arlington.
Right.
You need the 13th and the 14th man.
Yep.
Okay. Because the 12th man ain't even getting it done at home.
Right.
Okay. So Arkansas plus 23 versus Texas A&M. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, last year, Arkansas allowed a 100-yard opening kickoff return. They trailed 17-0 in the second quarter, but hung around. And by the time the third quarter rolled around, they were down 24-17 when their quarterback threw an interception with 1:11 left. Okay, so they didn't even set a record. A crowd of only 55,000, one of the smallest crowds of Jerry's world. Okay,
right.
So you're looking at 2 teams. Texas A&M needs a win. Arkansas needs a win. These 2 teams, they're old Southwest Conference foes. No love lost. I'm going Arkansas plus 23.
Well, I think A&M's not going to cover, and there's a lot. I mean, Mark, help us out here. A&M is not what they were cut out to be. They showed a little muster against Clemson and Auburn. They just look like they lackadaisically gave up. The play calling of Jimbo is pretty bad. And if you got to wear your glasses like this and look at the field and look at your clipboard and everything like that, Jimbo, $75 million for, 10 years? Get you some good glasses. I do. These are Dollar Trees. I see far and I see close. But anyway, I think A&M wins, but they don't cover.
Kansas at TCU, 11 a.m.
The Fighting Jayhawks.
FS1. Now, I told you last week that SMU was going to give TCU a game. Didn't think it was SMU was actually going to win the game. But SMU won the game at TCU.
Right.
So to think that TCU is some invincible team at home, no, they're not. That mystique's been blown. Okay, and I like how SMU, did you see their jerseys?
Yeah.
It's got Dallas on it.
I know.
That pony on their helmet had a D behind it. They're representing Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas, the Dallas Metroplex, if you combine all the territory around that, would be the second largest city in all of America.
But that's just a thing. Out of that
they break it up. You got Fort Worth, you got Arlington, Irving, all the little Denton, you got all the little towns and townships and incorporated cities. But if they didn't have that, they'd be the second largest city in America behind New York City as far as population.
Got it.
So, Kansas at TCU, Kansas plus 15.5. Now, you got to give Kansas a little credit. So last time in 17, the Jayhawks entered on the second of back-to-back away games and were shut out for the second straight week. Their 21 total yards was the lowest by an FBS team, at least in the last 20 years. This is the Les Miles era. As much as I think Les Miles is a joke, for whatever reason, I think he'll have them ready to play.
Yeah.
TCU's reeling.
Right.
They got embarrassed by home by a very good SMU team. Yep. I'm not saying Kansas is SMU, but Kansas is plus 15.5. I got to roll with Kansas. I'm sorry.
I got to take the points. Lester will get them up. And, I mean, it's just goes without saying. Now, the book that Little Joe is reading out of there and rolling on is Phil Steele. It is the Bible of college football. Okay, Northwestern, Wisconsin.
Okay. Yeah, Northwestern at Wisconsin, 11 a.m. ABC. Now, for those of us that actually knew Wisconsin was going to be a good team, we had that game last week, them versus Michigan. They embarrassed Michigan. They blew Michigan out.
Yeah.
Michigan, that's one team. Okay, my Final Four is already all thrown in the whack, okay?
Right.
Because I thought Michigan was going to be way formidable. I thought basically Michigan was going to be where Wisconsin is.
No offense.
They're not. Harbaugh got up there and apologized after the game and said, yeah, I coached them. This is all on me. And how much do they pay Harbaugh? He can't win the Big Ten. He can't even make it to the conference championship. He can't even beat Wisconsin and Ohio State.
Yeah.
So it looks like Michigan's going to be looking for a new coach at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I'm not even talking about Michigan. We got Northwestern at Wisconsin. 11 a.m. ABC.
I got Wisconsin.
Now, the home team has won 10 of the last 12 meetings. Last year, the Badgers trailed 14-10 at the half, but allowed 17 straight in the second half before scoring their final points with 8 minutes left. So, last year they beat Northwestern 31-17. And that was at Northwestern, and Northwestern had a better team. This year, it's Northwestern plus 24.5 at Wisconsin. Prove me wrong, Northwestern, but I'm sorry. I'm taking Wisconsin at Camp Randall. I know the running back, forget his name, might be a little banged up, but for the most part, he'll be ready to roll. They're going to play. They got a defense.
Yeah.
Northwestern sucks.
At least
They're
5
beat
touchdowns to 1.
Wisconsin will cover 24.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they got some big guys there. You were high on Wisconsin when we started the season, your first stats and everything like that. And defensively, they're a bunch of great tacklers out there. Tackling is the key of any defense.
Yeah.
Blocking and tackling, Vince Lombardi always said.
That guy's name is Jonathan Taylor, by the way.
Jonathan Taylor. I was going to say it, but I didn't want to be corrected at the end of the show. But they opened up a hole, Wisconsin did, against Michigan. I mean, they could say drive a bus through. There was so much green in front of Jonathan Taylor. It looked like Pee Wee football when we used to run the belly option to the left. The kid had such a wide hole. He'd rate 65, 70 yards. You know I'm talking about, number 15, Steve S. That's what it looked like. Wisconsin rolls 35-7.
All right, here we go. All right, moving on, 11 a.m., Big Fox,
Yes.
Texas Tech at Oklahoma. It's Texas Tech plus 27. Now, OU's won 8 of the last 9, including 7 straight. Last year, Oklahoma had a 390 to 289 yard edge at the half, but trailed 31-28.
Yeah.
OU finished with 683 total yards, the most Texas Tech had allowed. I've seen Texas Tech play.
Yep.
It's nothing special. They don't have their quarterback. What's his
Alan
name?
Bowman is his name. He's
Bowman
out.
is out?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they got Duffy and another transfer from Rice.
All right. It's at Oklahoma. Texas Tech hasn't shown me anything all year. Oklahoma has. Even though it's a big line,
Yeah.
I'm looking for Oklahoma to go out there. They've had a week off,
Right.
tweak a couple of things.
Both teams have.
I'm looking for Oklahoma to go out there and cover 27 at home, 11 a.m. Fox.
Yeah, Texas Tech is a work in progress, again, with a new coach, new offense, this, that. Bowman was the real key. He's an outstanding quarterback for that type of offense. But Oklahoma's got something to prove. They don't play a week. They get knocked down in the ratings. It's all SEC up there, that top 4 or 5. That's what they want. And then Ohio State, Herbie says, well, Ohio State deserves to be number 4. I'm so tired of listening to Herbie. It won't take more than either the start of the season or the third game of the season for him to jump on his Buckeye bandwagon. He was a quarterback at Ohio State, just like that's so much bias on there just to bring that Big Ten up. It won't even be if they beat Michigan, it sure won't count for style points. But anyway, the Sooners need to obliterate everybody on their schedule to make their point to get back into where they belong.
All right. My take on what you just said is that, remember, it's 2 competing TV networks now, ESPN and Fox.
Right.
They're not on the same page. They're against each other. Fox versus ESPN and all this stuff. So Herbie's going to get up there and boost the SEC, but really he's an Ohio Stater at heart, you know. But that's a Fox, that's a Big Ten Fox thing. So you can only go so far with it. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Clemson at North Carolina, 2:30 ABC. All right, I only picked this game because it's 2:30 ABC.
Right.
Also, it's North Carolina plus 27 now. See, so Clemson is 15-9-1 in Chapel Hill. The Tigers have won the last 3 meetings, but last time they were here, they held a good competitive edge, but trailed 21-10 until they got a touchdown with 5:31 left, and they didn't get the ball back till 6. So you're looking at, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So the last time I see them playing each other is in 2015. Of course, Clemson made it to the national championship that year.
Right.
And it was a win, 45-37. So you really don't have much to go on. That's a big line. It's Clemson on the road again, prime time. North Carolina, they're not a bad team. They're not really a good team. But look for Mac Brown to maybe even keep this thing close in a way. 27 is a lot of points. So I'm going to have to roll with North Carolina plus 27, 2:30 ABC.
I like what you're saying, and gosh, I've been rolling with the points. I think that UCLA Wazoo the other night just broke all my credibility, if you understand what I'm saying. That was 130 points in there. And
I won that game.
Well, I know, and we'd given up 27 points, and Wazoo was ahead 31 at halftime. I mean, I figured I was sitting in, I went to sleep, and then I watched it the next morning on College Football Final. But the bottom line is that I believe Clemson's got a lot to prove, even though they're ranked number 1, and the ACC is a cakewalk for them. So they still got to play Wofford. Anyway, long story short, I think they cover just to prove a point, but Mac can keep it close. So I guess I'll go with Mac.
All right, you're taking North Carolina. Moving on, Iowa State at Baylor. Okay, so oddly enough.
What time is that?
Oddly enough, it's 2:30 ESPN. Iowa State at Baylor. Wow, I
thanks.
know. It's not an FS1 or a Fox, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Baylor plus 3.5. Now, here we are again. The home team getting points. Iowa State at Baylor. Baylor plus 3.5. Now, last year they played at Iowa State. It was a Iowa State minus 17. The score was 28-14. Iowa State didn't cover.
Gotcha.
The last time they played at Baylor, this is Matt Rule's first year, I believe, it was 23-13. Iowa State minus 9, they did cover. But, so, last time they were here, ISU won for just the third time in the last 10 meetings. Remember, in the Art Browse era, they were whooping up on old Iowa State.
Yeah.
It's a plus 3 now. I don't see how.
Baylor plus 3.
Yeah, it's Baylor plus 3. I'm going to have to roll with Iowa State on that one.
Okay.
I really am. Baylor, show me something, Baylor.
Yeah.
Show me something.
Well, they haven't played too many good teams yet, but I think they're undefeated.
Here's Baylor's schedule. Stephen F. Austin,
Win.
University of Texas San Antonio,
Win.
a bye week, and Rice. Baylor has played absolutely nobody.
Okay, you're right.
They haven't even played a formidable opponent, FCS opponent.
I think Cyclones will cover.
Yeah, Cyclones should cover.
Yeah.
Moving on, I put this game up there because it's an ESPN2 at 2:30, Minnesota at Purdue. Purdue is getting 1.5 at home. Minnesota is a sleeper team out of the Big Ten. Look for Minnesota to cover at Purdue, 1.5. Minnesota will win that game by a touchdown or maybe even 10 points or 14 points. So I'm taking Minnesota on that.
I'll pass on that. Anything coming out of Minnesota really doesn't turn me on now. Next.
Ole Miss at Alabama. Now, remember during the Hugh Freeze era, this was like a big deal, a big game, but now that
they beat them twice,
Ole,
then they got investigated.
Now that Ole is reeling from sanctions, they're at Alabama, 2:30 CBS. Look for Alabama to go out there and score a whole bunch of points. Last year, they got demoralized, 62-7. Alabama was number 1 with a line that was plus 22. This year, the odds makers are a little bit smarter, and they got Ole Miss plus 38 at Alabama. But I'm sorry, Ole, you don't get it done. Bama bounces back from not covering last week, and they cover this week. Oh, I'm sorry, Bama did cover last week. That's my fault. They did. Bama covered last week. It was the week before. Bama's at home. I don't think you got anything to worry about being at home. It is a 2:30 CBS. So I'm going to roll with Alabama covering 38.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is deplorable. Ole Miss, but then again, they did take Cal to the wire. So
right. I think Ole Miss is a work in progress. In fact, let me tell you how biased the ESPN is. If I get that mixed up, ESPN and the SEC. The other day, they have the season all day on Saturday prior to the game starting. It's Ole Miss football season. Now, I met a guy from Ole Miss the other day. I mean, total rebel. I lived by him all my life in my childhood, formative years. Ole Miss Rebel fans, people from Mississippi in my old neighborhood. Why does ESPN got to put the season, Ole Miss football? I mean, Ole Miss hasn't been relevant since Archie Manning left, okay? And then Eli Manning slipped on his butt there to try to beat somebody in the waning seconds. He could have done it. So, I mean, to me, they're irrelevant when back in the old glory days, Johnny Vaught versus Bear Bryant, Ole Miss gets beat by 40.
Okay.
Tua and Alabama are just going to pad their stats.
2017, Alabama beat them 66-3. 2018, Alabama beat them 62-7.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't seem like Ole Miss is any better.
Oh, no.
Let's move on, but
Yeah.
Alabama will cover
Please
minus 38.
Please do.
2:30 Fox, are you ready? Pac-12, the Lac-12, the WAC-12, whatever you want to call them. USC at Washington.
Ooh.
USC plus 10.5.
Third-string quarterback.
I watched USC last week beat a pretty decent Utah team. Their third-string quarterback came off the bench. Now, you ever heard that old saying that, oh, well, the guy on the bench is just as good as the starter? No. In this case, the guy on the bench was better than the starter, okay? USC ain't looked this good in a few years. Now, you can either take that one or two ways. That USC is really gelling with this quarterback, or Utah really wasn't all they were cracked up to be. But BYU took USC to overtime. I watched Utah pretty much handle BYU in a convincing fashion starting off the season. So I'm going to roll with them Trojans. I've been, Washington I ain't going to say they burned me, but I watched them. They're not all that great. They're good, and maybe they'll bounce back.
Yeah.
But I have to take them Trojans at 10.5 at Washington.
Yeah.
I think the Trojans are going to get it done.
Well, you know me.
That's 2:30 Fox, by the way.
Good. You know me, I've been an SC fan for years. I didn't really get into the argument that SC had the championship and LSU had the championship and all that stuff. I could have cared less. SC's been on my grain mind for years. I can tell you over and over. I think SC, with the points, beats Washington, but not hands down, not straight up. I think Washington's got a lot to prove. They still need to save some face. And Jacob Eason, their quarterback who transferred from Georgia, is now in the Heisman talk because he threw a few touchdowns and he got 300-400 yards and blah, 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 this and that. So we're going to get to that transfer portal here pretty soon. Let's go. What are we rolling on now?
Virginia at Notre Dame, 2:30 NBC.
Ooh.
Virginia plus 12.5 at Notre Dame. Now.
Wow, that line went up. It was 11.5. That tells you something. Notre Dame.
All right, now look, Dow. Virginia's 0-2 versus the Irish. But this is their first time traveling to South Bend. Head coach Mendenhall's BYU teams went 0-3 versus Notre Dame.
Yeah.
All three games were on the road. Mendenhall was 12-2 prior to regular season bye at BYU and 2-2 at UVA. However, Notre Dame will be bouncing back. They were in that game with Georgia, but Georgia was clearly the better team.
Right.
I won that game, by the way, because Notre Dame scored. Yeah, thankfully, because Notre Dame scored a late TD. 12.5.
Yeah.
Is a lot of points. Although I think Notre Dame has got a little bit of revenge on their mind and they're going to take it out on Virginia, I'd have to roll with Notre Dame beating Virginia by, let's just say, 20 points. So
I'd
Notre
say
Dame
more
covers
than 12.5.
So it's Virginia plus 12.5. I'm taking Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is so
2:30
generic.
NBC.
They are generic. What, they wear the blue jerseys, the white jerseys, or whatever, the gold helmets. They paint them every game. I don't know if Rudy still helps them. Maybe his grandkids are helping him now. Who knows?
Have you seen that Rudy commercial?
I hate it. They defiled.
Come on!
They defiled something to me that when I first saw Rudy, it made me stand up on the bench and tell my wife, "Get in there and cook that." Make my supper, and, it got me all fired up, but and then I like the Gipper. I saw the movie. In fact, I got it. Newt Rockne All-American. I thought Newt Rockne at the start when football in its infancy, after, it was almost outlawed by Teddy Roosevelt, Newt Rockne was football. Alonzo Staggs said that. Okay? So let's go back and get your history books. But Heisman, Rockne, Stagg, all those, Pop Warner.
Right,
where do you get all those names from? But anyway, bottom line.
It's a funny commercial. Mississippi State at Auburn. Leave it up to Gus Malzahn to have a big road win and come back and lose a game. Now, it's Mississippi State plus 10.5. I've seen Mississippi State this year. They're not exactly lighting up the scoreboard. Mississippi State is 2-7 at Jordan Hare, winning in 2007 and 2015 with Dax Prescott. Either which way, last year they played each other. Auburn lost 23-9.
Wow.
Okay, so they beat Auburn last year. They lost to Auburn 49-10 the year before. And then they lost to Auburn 38-14 the year before that. Now, 10.5 is a lot of points. And leave it up to Gus Malzahn to blow a game. This would be the game that they would blow. It's not going to be October, is it? It's still September.
Yes, sir.
Auburn usually doesn't start blowing a game till October.
Right.
But I'm going to have to roll, because it is 10.5, I'm going to have to roll with Mississippi State.
Who wins?
That I don't know. I'm just saying Mississippi. I'm taking Mississippi State at Auburn plus 10.5.
I think Auburn wins. They don't cover. I think they're going to Auburn's going to be pristine, just like a lot of teams are, till they get into the meat, thickness of the conference play, which means, i.e., the other Tigers in that West.
It's 6 p.m. ESPN, by the way. We got to move. Kentucky at South Carolina, SEC Network. Kentucky plus 3. Kentucky has burned me 2 straight weeks in a row. South Carolina, to me, is not any more formidable than Kentucky, but South Carolina is at home. They need a win.
Yeah.
The SEC East, I'm taking South Carolina at home minus 3, 6:30 SEC Network.
I got to go with you. They could surprise us. I mean, but Kentucky, like I said, has burned you, and South Carolina's got a little bit more to prove, even though they got annihilated last weekend.
All right. Big one in the Big Ten, 6:30 ABC, Ohio State at Nebraska. It's Nebraska plus 17.
Let me tell you about Nebraska. Scott Frost, coach at the current time, Nebraska grad. And here I go with all those U's, but he said that he wanted to model his team after Oklahoma. That's what he said. We need to get to where the Oklahomas are. We need to model our team after those guys.
Yeah.
Great quote. I wish we'd play them, though.
The Huskers,
remember that?
The Huskers are 1-6 in the series, with one lone win coming here in 2011.
They should have never lost.
Last year, Nebraska
12.
was off an FCS foe. The Huskers led 21-16 at halftime, but couldn't hold on, allowing the game-winning TD with 45 seconds left. And Ohio State beat them last year in the horseshoe, or the shoe, or whatever they call it, 31-36.
Ooh.
Now, this year is a different year. Ohio State is at Nebraska. Nebraska is having a little bit of revenge on their mind. I would reckon to say that outside of, Cincinnati, that this is Nebraska's first real test on the road against a Nebraska team. I'm sorry, did I say that? Ohio State's first real test on the road against Nebraska, because they had Cincinnati at home and Indiana. Nobody cares about Indiana. Everybody pushes Indiana around. So It's Nebraska plus 17. It's a 6:30 ABC, though. And this is what makes me think this game's going to be a little bit closer than what everybody thinks. Now, they're either propping up Nebraska because of the TV audience, or they really believe in Nebraska. Because otherwise, why wouldn't this game be at 11 o'clock or 2:30?
Well, I think it's almost getting close to prime time because it's Ohio State. And
Ohio State and Nebraska plus 17. I'm sorry. Ohio State, I haven't picked them in the last couple of weeks.
Right.
I should have picked them because they won big. But
right.
You know what? I say they struggle a little bit. I say Nebraska, the black shirts show up and make it close. I'm taking Nebraska plus 17 at home.
I'm taking Herbie State. I mean, I think they win. They got something to prove. They're propped up there now where they want to be, and they're going to roll in interconference play. They don't see anybody till they play Wisconsin, if they do, in Michigan at the end of the year.
Washington State, late night football, 9 p.m.
Stay up, I do.
What really else do you have to do on Sunday? Anyway.
Saturday, that is.
No, but
yeah, for Sunday,
yeah.
right.
All right.
Right.
9 p.m. FS1, Two teams that need a win. Washington State at Utah. Now, look, both teams lost last week. Heartbreaking losses. Losses where they should have won the darn game. Washington State at Utah. It's Washington State plus 5.5.
Right.
I cannot go against Mike Leach and the Texas
fight for Washington State
and the Washington State Red Raiders, Huskies, or whatever they call them,
right?
The Washington State Huskies. So
Cougars.
It's Washington State Cougars. Washington State at Utah. Washington State plus 5.5. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and roll with Washington State.
Me too. I'm taking the points, and I'm taking the win. Wazoo comes back, bounces back. That was it must have been an exciting game. I saw the whole fourth quarter. I think both teams put together 60 points or something like that in the fourth quarter. That was an amazing game. Amazing. There was no defense in it, naturally, and that's what the fun part is. You want defense? Defense wins championships.
If you want to take
but a lot of fun. I mean, it's like playing in the front yard. Come on in. The game's over. Y'all come on. They'll send all the other kids home.
Listen, if you want to take your child to a football game, and the little boy's like 5 years old, what game would you take him to? A boring-ass SEC game where it's 6-9, in the third quarter, or 14-10 in the third quarter, or would you want 52-35 or 52-42 in the third quarter? Hey, woo, hey, woo. It's like your teams are scoring. Your little boy's there, and he's got the hot dog, and he's like, yeah. He don't care who's got the ball. He's just excited when the teams are scoring. He's just excited when the fans are cheering. He likes when the band plays and stuff like that. What would you rather? Would you rather a boring-ass SEC game, which, in my humble opinion, they're starting to score a lot in the SEC, just like these other conferences.
Point being is.
So the point I'm trying to make is that, just stay up and watch some of these other games because they're fun. They're fun.
Right.
Now, look, here we go.
Hold up. Let me say something. You just made a great point. The SEC, as a conference, the running games are down. The passing games are up. Even those in the top 10, they got 8 SEC teams in the top 10. All those offenses are beaming up. LSU's offense, which was desperately needed for years. It's not a lot of, that sells. I mean, you watch all these other conferences and stuff like that, like we just said, Pac-10 and Big 12, you can't even go to the bathroom. It's like that commercial they show. I like that commercial they have, that the guy meets somebody at the door, Pizza Man, he misses the game on TV, then everybody's cheering, the other guy's nodding out at the couch, and there goes the great play. You can't leave that football, and that's exciting football. Though defense wins championships, but let me tell you about defense and championships. Last year's in the CFP, Alabama 45, Oklahoma 34. Don't tell me you left that seat. That's 80 points. Don't tell me you left that, even though it was the SEC Alabama. It wasn't your team or whatever, but even it was Oklahoma when somebody else should have been in there, Ohio State, But, I mean, you stayed and watched that thing. That was 80 points between them, and that's where it's at. A lot of points, a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. Let me go to you now.
All right. So UCLA late night football. Here it is, rounding out the day. The games that actually are teams you recognize on the field. 9:30 ESPN. If you're on a real rip snorter, if you just don't want to call it a night, crack open another couple of beers and watch UCLA at Arizona. UCLA plus 6.5. Now, last year Arizona suffered their fourth consecutive loss in Pasadena against UCLA with a backup quarterback, getting his first career start for the injured Khalil Tate. Now, Arizona is at home, but UCLA is getting 6.5 off of a program-turning victory against a top 25, maybe a top 15 opponent on the road at Washington State.
Yeah.
Now, maybe, just a maybe, that Oklahoma game said, maybe they were hitting like, God, we got to be like these guys. Why don't we just start doing what those guys do? Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying that out there. Okay, so look, UCLA, don't fail me now. Come on, UCLA. Yeah. I'm taking UCLA plus 6.5 at Arizona, 9:30 ESPN Saturday night, and that's it.
That's it. I'm taking UCLA too. I'm getting a little more confidence in him. You know, he's got an offensive analyst down there on the field. It kind of looks like Rick Neuheisel's son. It looked like Rick Neuheisel's long hair. You see him. He wears all the colors of blue and white for UCLA and black or whatever, and then he's wearing a gold hoodie, sweatshirt and he looks just like Neuheisel's son. But anyway, long story short, I'm taking UCLA. Now, we need to get to that transfer portal thing, and where little Joe got everything before, and I mentioned before, it's the Phil Steele. We've been, he's reading all that information out of Phil Steele. It's the Bible of college football, if you ask me. It's informative. The print is small, but it stays up pretty close to it. It's got all the norms and all the whatever goes with figuring out this football. It's real informative. I'm sure maybe some of you have got it. We used to use it extensively when we used to get with Glennie the Greek on our odds making thing. But anyway, Derek King, Houston quarterback, set all kind of records last year. They got a new coach in this year, Dana Holgorsen from West Virginia. Why he left West Virginia, I don't know. But bottom line is, King, the quarterback, is going to sit out the rest of the season. He skirted the issues of the transfer portal, of playing 4 games this year. He still has a chance to redshirt. He said he didn't want to sit out. He said he wanted to sit out for degree academics when it first came out. Then he said, well, just let everybody get used to Holgorsen's attempt to try to change things that were there before. Houston's having their worst season ever. First start in the past 3 to 4 years. They're 1-3. He's going to enter the transfer portal, where he says he's going to stick with Houston come 2020. That left it out. There's articles about it from A to B across the nation. That transfer portal thing is getting out of hand. But this kid said, quarterback King, said that he wanted to weigh his options. 2020, he's coming back to Houston. But then all of a sudden, all the sharks in the water. From Oklahoma, another 4th Heisman Trophy candidate, transfer. Texas A&M looking for quarterback. Ole Miss, even Alabama when Tua leaves. LSU even. What are they going to do when Burrow leaves? This, that, and the other coming out of the woodwork and trying to be up for grabs for this quarterback. To me, it's because who's going to pay me more? Who's going to give me this, that, and other? And it's just trying to enhance their abilities and their enhancement to get to the pro level, which is a fine thing. If you have a chance to go to a different job to make more money to get to another job, hey, that's the name of the game. It's the American way. But to me, to say that the kid is going to play for Houston again, I'm pretty skeptical about that, and I believe he'll wind up somewhere in a Power 5 school, Power 5 conference that are in the upper echelon, the top 10 school. If he doesn't stick with Houston. Why would he stick with Houston?
I don't know. Okay, if you like what you see, go ahead and hit the bell notification. Subscribe to us if you haven't subscribed to us already. Comment below. We always appreciate comments. We'll leave a couple of links to some stuff. I mean, hey, watch it if you want to. If not, go watch Netflix and binge with your wife.
Binge.
You know what I'm saying? Go binge watch Netflix.
TV watching. I guess I do that when I watch Andy Griffin.
Hey, watch a couple of games that you might not watch.
Right.
Just at least have the TV on.
Correct.
Check a couple of games out. Watch a couple of different teams, different players. I know you're busy people. I know y'all are busy people. But Correct. Other than that, it's pretty much all I got. We'll see y'all later. We'll see y'all next week.
Well, I got them shout-outs. I got the shout-outs to the grandkids. I got Ethan getting in the end zone again. He 28 toss pass, dove into the end zone with the score. I got the Chandler boys tearing it up in the Upward Football League, Flag Football League down there in Victoria. Shout-out to Lance Corporal Heath Mendoza, USMC, still in Okinawa. Hello, Heath. And pre-birthday wishes to KT, Kansas City Art Institute. We love you. I think you're going to be 19 years old, Kane. I don't know. Let us know. But we love you very much. All you little ones, drink your milk and get on those knees and say your prayers. Bye.